Hello and welcome to yet another session at Lallans IS. I am Hiranyo Matapsakya. Today we have come up with an issue which has been in news since the first week of October. So Bihar is where the whole issue first came up, and now it is a nationwide news-making phenomena. In fact, every state, every region has a certain opinion on this issue. So let us begin. So we have divided the whole issue into certain sections for the purpose of clarity and for the purpose of better understanding. So we have divided it into sections like the news related to what we are referring to, then certain data to show the status of SCs or status of how certain castes are in reality. So caste census will actually bring more clarity into the socioeconomic conditions of various caste groups. But still, we have certain other data, especially here we are referring to data like monthly per capita expenditure of conducted by Ministry of Labor, then this PLFS data we are referring to, then NFHS, National Family Health Survey data we are referring to. That gives us some insights, but although there is limitation on the use of those data, because clear-cut data will only be provided by a caste census, which is not something we have at this moment. But certain data is there which can give certain insights into the actual position of certain groups in India. Now, having said that, it does not make you inclined towards one side or the other. And remember, this is a very polarized debate. Whenever anybody talks about caste in India, there is no positive, you can say, impartial and objective discussion is missing. Everybody is sitting either on one side or the other, and then the discussion takes place. And the result is you tend to superimpose your beliefs or your ideas, and no fruitful middle ground emerges. So this issue has actually stimulated the need for having an objective discussion on the issue of caste and what is the rightful place of caste in 21st century. All those things we will try to analyze, and these things you might get a direct or indirect question in the interview. So after looking into the data regarding caste census or regarding caste, then we will look into what a caste census is, what are its purposes. Purposes will indirectly mean the arguments that comes in favor of having a caste census, and then how is it different from the decennial census that happens now? The latest one is pending for long. It should have been conducted in the early part of this decade, like 2020, 21, but still 2023, and we are not obviously going, it is not going to happen in 2023 or in 2024. So 2024 will be the election year. So this is not the right way, because when we talk about evidence-based policy making, where is the evidence to do policy making? We need data. Now, the data we are using, 2011 data, is actually quite old. Many things have changed, but still that is a criticism of the government that you can objectively make. Even if you are asked to take a position on certain issues or policies, that census is yet to be conducted, and that is not the right way to go. Then what is the government of India stand regarding the issue, that we will try to understand. Then what is the history of the caste census? When did it start? And why was it suddenly stopped? All those things. Then there was something called SECC, Socio-Economic Caste Census, that was in news in 2011. In fact, though that census was conducted in 2011, uh, data was collected, but what happened to it? So all those things we will understand, try to learn. Then we will look into this Rohini Commission that was in news very recently in the month of August. So what is it pertain to? What does it pertain to? Then certain, and this data is repeated here, ignore it. Then we will try to have a broad analysis on the issue, what stand you can take on the issue, or how has the reservation policy, or how has the caste-based mobilization in India resulted in empowerment of people, or has it actually resulted in empowerment of people or not? Has there been actually changes in ground or not? So those things we will try to analyze, and then we'll try to look into the background of the issue, because caste reservation is not something, reservation as a policy is not something that is a post-independence phenomenon. It has actually, if you recall, uh, there was a reservation in 1935 elections. 1935 Government of India Act has provisions of reservations. Then 1909, in fact, separate electorate is what it is, kind of a reservation, but like more extreme form of reservation that was. So reservation as a policy has been part of Indian polity in British times itself. So we will look into those aspects, how does thing has evolved, and what was the Constituent Assembly's stand on reservation. So that will give better understanding on the issue. We will begin to appreciate certain issues more in the correct manner, and then we will try to, at the end of it, we'll try to look into we'll try to evaluate the policy, how it should be, and what are the issues facing it, and how can it be better modified, or you can say what can be the way forward regarding this. There is something, there is a debate right now between the fact that whether there should be adequate representation or adequate reservation versus proportionate reservation or proportionate representation. We'll look into this aspect also. So let us begin. So what is the news? The news is that the Bihar government recently, it brought out its caste census data to the forefront. And what was its findings? That Bihar, with a population of 13 crore, has approximately 63% EBC, extremely backward caste, and OBCs. These are actually non-SC ST backward caste only, and out of them, these are, like you can say, extremely backward. So this comprises of 63%, and another 12 to 12%, 22% is SC and ST. So roughly, we can say approximately 85% of population in Bihar is backward caste. So Nitish Kumar has brought in a bill to increase there is a 50% cap on reservation. So there is a proposal to increase it to increase it to 65%. So he is talking about what? He is talking about proportionate representation. মানে যিমান মানুহ আছে সেই হিচাপত, যে এটা জেগাত যদি 60% বেকৱাৰ্ড আছে, তাৰমানে প্ৰত্যেকটো জেগাত 60% বেকৱাৰ্ডৰ কাৰণে থাকিব লাগিব। কিন্তু সেইটো আইডিয়া আৰু বি আৰ আম্বেদকাৰৰ যিটো ৰিপ্ৰেজেন্টেশ্যনৰ বা ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যনৰ আইডিয়া, সেইটো দুইটাৰ মাজত বেলেগ আছে। প্ৰপৰ্চনেট ৰিপ্ৰেজেন্টেশ্যনৰ কথা কোৱা নাছিল। আৰু 50% যিটো কেপ, আমি পিছত পঢ়িম ইন্দিৰা চাহানী কেছত যিটো 50% কেপ আহিছিলে, সেইটোৱে একচুৱেলি প্ৰপৰ্চনেট ৰিপ্ৰেজেন্টেশ্যন এনকাৰেজ নকৰে। বিকজ বি মাইণ্ডফুল অফ দ্য ফেক্ট, আমি এতিয়া যিটো ডেটা আছে কাষ্ট ডেটা, that is 1931 data. 1931 dataতে কয় যে 52% is OBC, but still Indira Sahani case 1992, don't worry, all these things we will cover in detail, but be with me. 1992 কলে যে ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যন থাকিব 27% for OBC। তাৰমানে কি, এইটো adequate, it is more focusing on adequateness of representation rather than proportionate. Proportionate হলে তো 52% ৰাখিলে হয় OBC তে। So it doesn't mean কি যিমান আছে সিমানেই হ'ব। And এইটোৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত মানে যে adequate কিয় হ'ব লাগে, এইটোৰ বিৰাট ধুনীয়া আৰ্গুমেণ্ট এটা আম্বেদকাৰে দিছিলে। Actually এইখিনিতে কৈ দিও আপোনালোকক, তেতিয়া it will be more related. So what he said is that, আমি যদি আপোনালোকেতো কনষ্টিটিউশ্যন সকলোৱে পঢ়িছে, এইখিনিলৈকে পাইছে যেতিয়া ইণ্টাৰভিউত। So 16 clause 1 যিটো আছে, that there will be no discrimination on public employment, তাৰমানে এমপ্লয়মেন্টৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত you will have equality of opportunity. But 16 clause 4, article 16 clause 4 কি আছে, exception to this rule. এইটোৰ এক্সেপশ্যন আছে মানে কি ইন ফেভাৰ অফ socially and educationally backward caste SCBCৰ কাৰণে যদি if they are found to be disproportionately in underrepresented in government jobs, then আমি স্পেচিয়েল প্ৰভিজন আনিব পাৰো। কিন্তু এইটো যদি তেওঁ আম্বেদকাৰে কৈছে যে এইটো যদি আমি প্ৰপৰ্চনেট কৰি দিওঁ মানে এক্সেপশ্যনটোহে হয় যে যদি নাথাকে তেতিয়া আমি এটা পাৰ্চেন্টেজ দিম। বাট যদি আমি কৈ দিওঁ যে কাইলৈ 85% বেকৱাৰ্ড, তাৰমানে গোটেই ইণ্ডিয়াত 85% ৰিজাৰ্ভ চব চিটত মানে বেকৱাৰ্ড কাষ্টে থাকিব লাগিব, তাৰমানে সেইটো এডিকুৱেট হৈ নাথাকিলে সেইটো প্ৰপৰ্চনেট হৈ গ'ল। এণ্ড প্ৰপৰ্চনেটতো সেইটো ইট ইজ কন্ট্ৰেৰী টু দ্য প্ৰিন্সিপল অফ 16 clause 1। তাৰমানে এইটো তেতিয়া ৰুল হৈ যাব, চৰি এইটো ৰুল হৈ যাব, এক্সেপশ্যনটোহে ৰুল হৈ যাব, গম পাইছে নাই? এইটো যেতিয়া বহুত বেছি হৈ যাব এক্সেপশ্যন বিকামছ দ্য ৰুল, আৰু সেইটোতো that is not the right way to move forward in any democracy. Exception to exception আমি এটা পাৰ্টিকুলাৰ টাইমৰ কাৰণে ৰাখিছো যাতে যিখিনি ডিপ্ৰাইভড যিবিলাকৰ ছ'চিয়েল ইনজাষ্টিচ হৈ আছে তেওঁলোকক আপলিফ্ট কৰাৰ কাৰণে, এইটো কাৰণে নহয় যে মানে সেই এক্সেপশ্যনটোৱে আমি ৰুল বনাই দিব নিবিচাৰো। that is the argument that B.R. Ambedkar, if you give proportionate representation মানে আমি সবকে যদি 16 clause 4ত সোমাই দিও তাৰমানে it will be contrary to 16 clause 1, মানে exception will become the rule. I hope I am able to make things clear. যদি বুজি নাপায় কমেন্টত আপোনালোকে ক'ব, I will clarify on it further. So moving ahead, this is the fact of the matter. Bihar, there was this caste census. It found that 85% caste backward caste ase, and proportionately they are demanding higher share in caste jobs. But reservation policy, they want more seats to be reserved. But that is again that is they are trying to bring out the idea of proportionate representation. But amar originally jitu ami consider assembly to etu finally it was after a lot of debate and discussion, it was finally accepted that we will go for adequate representation, not proportionate representation. সেইটোৰে এক্সটেনশন হৈছে এতিয়া যেটো প্ৰিন্সিপল হয় যে 50% যিমানে নহওক 50% ক্যাপটোৰ ওপৰত যাব নোৱাৰে ৰিজাৰ্ভেশন। সো এই বস্তুটো কি দেখায়, এইটো দেখাইছে আমি ৰিজাৰ্ভেশনটো এইটো নহয় যে ইণ্ডিয়াত যদি ইমানটা মানুহ আছে গভৰ্নমেন্টৰ জবটো এই ক্যাটাগৰী মানুহটোৰ ইমানটা থাকিব লাগিব। যদি say for example there are 10 tribal people in India, so government sector to 10% job থাকিব লাগিব হেনেকুৱা কথা নহয়, যে তেওঁলোকে যাতে এডিকুৱেট হেৰি পায় এডিকুৱেট পজিশনটা পায় হেতু কাৰণে যিমানটো দিলে প্ৰপৰ্চনেটলি সুবিধা হয় হেতু। that is the idea. একদম সমানকে হেতু আইডিয়াত নহয়, কাৰণ মেৰিট ইজ অলসো এন আৰ্গুমেন্ট, আৰু এফিচিয়েন্সিৰ কথাও আছে, বহুত কথা আছে, ডিজাৰ্ভিং হ'ব লাগিব, কোৱালিটি অফ এফিচিয়েন্সি অফ এডমিনিষ্ট্ৰেচনৰ কথাও আছে, হয় না? Just because you want to fill up the seats, and that will in a way encourage certain detrimental trends, like people will be more inclined to produce more babies to gain political power. So that will discourage. That will be, again, population has always been a problem with India. At a moment to population explosion, population boom কথা কৈছে। So এনেকুৱা টাইপ যদি proportionate idea যদি আমাৰ ইণ্ডিয়াৰ policy বিলাক হয়, তেতিয়াহ'লে that will encourage people producing more babies, and that will create more, obviously you know the repercussions what it can be. So hetu heneke argue nokoribo directly, hetu point to implied hoy, but the main idea is that exception cannot become the rule. Etia, what is caste census? Caste census mane ki? When you say what is a caste census, it is merely a collection or enumeration of data, enumeration of caste, jiman bibhinno type of populations ase amar, and to basically purpose to understand the social and economic position of different caste. Caste-wise data, historically speaking, 1870s or prothomote Britain census start কৰিছিল 1872 to be precise. Lord Mao আছিল history পঢ়িছে আপোনালোকে। 1882 প্ৰথমৰ পৰা প্ৰপাৰলি কাষ্ট ডাটা ষ্টাৰ্ট হ'ল, তাৰপিছত টিল 1931 হৈ থাকিল। আৰু ব্ৰিটিছৰ ইন্টেনশনটো কি, সঁচাকে কোন দুখীয়া বা কোন ডিপ্ৰাইভ সেই মানুহখিনিক বেনিফিট দিবলৈ আছিল নেকি? নহয়, ব্ৰিটিছৰ মেলাফাইড ইন্টেনশন আছে। ব্ৰিটিছে wanted to play the politics of divide and rule. They wanted to actually know how to understand how you can uh, make multiple groups fight among themselves, or create a political ground for themselves to sustain. So সেইটো ইন্টেনশনত তেওঁলোকে কৰিছিল, কোনো সোশিও ইকনমিক ডেভেলপমেন্ট বা ওয়েলফেয়াৰ ষ্টেটৰ আইডিয়াটো নাছিলে সেইটো সময়ত ন, ব্ৰিটিছৰ সময়ত। ইট ৱাজ এ ডেস্পটিক ষ্টেট। চ' ব্ৰিটিছৰ ইন্টেনশনটো সেইটোৱে আছিল। বাট সেইটো কাৰণে আৰু এইটোৱে এটা বস্তু, দেৰ ইজ সামথিং কল কাষ্ট কনচিয়াছনেছ, মানে চেতনাটোত আহা যে আমি এইটো কাষ্টৰ হয়। এই বস্তুটো আফটাৰ দিছ চেন্সাছ বা আফটাৰ এইবিলাক ইণ্টাৰভেনশ্যন যেতিয়া হ'ল, যে তেতিয়াই মানুহ ৰিয়েলাইজ হ'ল। আজি যদি কথা এটা কৈছিল যে যদি আজি ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যন একো নাথাকে, এইবিলাক একো নাথাকে, বা আপোনাৰ কোনো পাব্লিক লাইফত একোতে আপোনাৰ কাষ্টৰ কথাটো নালাগে, তেতিয়া মানুহৰ সেই কনচিয়াছনেছো নাথাকে ন, যে মই এইটো কাষ্টৰ হলো। ঠিক তেনেকে যদি একো এক্সপ্লইটেশ্যনে নাথাকে কাষ্ট বেছড, কোনো এইবিলাক ইণ্টাৰডাইনিঙৰ ৰুলছ বিলাক নাথাকে, ইণ্টাৰমেৰিজৰ ৰুলছ বিলাক নাথাকে, যে social যিবিলাক ৰুলছ, যে ইণ্টাৰকাষ্ট মেৰেজ হ'ব নালাগে, ইণ্টাৰডাইনিং হ'ব নালাগে, তেতিয়াতো কাষ্ট কনচিয়াছনেছ অট'মেটিকেলি নাইকিয়া হৈ যাব। কিন্তু যেতিয়া এইবিলাক আহে, তেতিয়াতো অট'মেটিক আপোনাৰ কনচিয়াছনেছটো আহি যায় যে অকে মই এইটো কাষ্টৰ হয় বা মই এইটো গ্ৰুপৰ হয়। চ' এই বস্তুবিলাক মানে যেতিয়া প্ৰথমতে এনিউমাৰেট হ'ল, যেতিয়া মানে লিখিত চেন্সাছ ওলাল, তেতিয়া এইবিলাক বস্তু ক্লিয়াৰ হৈ গ'ল যে অকে এইটো 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 এইটো। চ' পিপল অলছ' বিকেম কনচিয়াছ এবাউট দেয়াৰ কাষ্ট আইডেণ্টিটি। সেই হিচাপত তেওঁলোকে ষ্টাৰ্টেড ডিমাণ্ডিং। একচুৱেলি সেইটো ইনডাইৰেক্ট এটা পজিটিভ হেৰি হ'ল যে ইট ৱাজ ফৰ দ্য ফাৰ্ষ্ট টাইম ইট ৱাজ ক্লিয়াৰ with numerical data that certain section of Indian society is actually exploited, or they have been deprived compared to certain other sections, advanced sections of the society. So in a way, pisot that created the evidence, or that created certain statistics to work properly on their upliftment. But obviously British intention was not bona fide intention, it was malafide. But still, the history is that till 1931, from 1882, sorry, 1881 or 1931 we had caste census, caste data. 1931 it was stopped. So মানে পারপাসটো কি হ'ব পাৰে এতিয়াও যদি আমি কাষ্ট সেন্সাস আনো? ইফ ইউ আর আস্কড হোয়াট ক্যান বি দ্য বেনিফিট অফ ইট, ক্লিয়ার বেনিফিট ইজ দ্যাট ফার্স্ট অফ অল আমাৰ ইয়াতে we have a reservation policy that is based on caste. মানে caste based reservation is a reality in India. Caste based reservation কোনটো ক্ষেত্ৰত লাগে? এটাটো হৈছে পলিটিক্যাল পাৱাৰৰ কাৰণে, যে সিটস ৰিজাৰ্ভ ফৰ এমপিজ এমএলএছ। দুই নম্বৰ হৈছে গভৰ্নমেন্ট জবস। সো এই দুটা ক্ষেত্ৰত আমি যেতিয়া কাষ্ট বেস ৰিজাৰ্ভেশনে কৰি আছো, সো হেতুৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত ইট ইজ practical, it makes sense that you know the data properly, that what is a numerical strength of which group. That is how you can actually ascertain ki actually ami right to it, right proportionate hoye ase na nai, ba mane adequate to hoye ase na hetu kom pabo lage. So hetu eta prothom kotha, that to actually, because we have this reservation policy, so we need to know the data. Our second kotha, actually কোন deprived hoye ase ami amar SCCC hetu ahibo. Again, that data is supposedly to be used for giving benefits, like amar এইবিলাক আয়ুষ্মান ভাৰতৰ benefits বিলাক দিবলে সেই তাৰ data use কৰা হৈছে। কিন্তু কথা হৈছে কি সেই তাত properly identify হৈ আছে যে কোন deprived, কোন কেনেকুৱা কিটো পজিশনত আছে। তো এইবিলাক কাৰণে to make evidence based policy making যেটো আমাক লাগে, we need evidence to make proper policy. So hetu karone we need the caste data, because you like it or not, caste based policy to us is reservation policy. So we have no choice but to do a census. Either you get rid of reservation, or if you have reservation, then you need caste based census. At least time to time, iman frequently নহলেও, frequently হৈ থাকিলে মানুহে বেছি কনসার্ন হৈ যাব ন, কনসিয়াস হৈ যাব এটো কথা লৈ পেলাই যে মই এটো কাষ্টৰ হয়। But still, at least বোলে 20 বছৰ 30 বছৰ মৰে মৰে হলেও we need it. Purpose is not to play politics, purpose is not to mobilize. Actually, unfortunately, হেতুৱে হয় ultimately. কিন্তু purpose to হৈছে identify the right beneficiaries to be given the right public support. ঠিক আছে? আৰু how is it different? Caste census খন কেনেকে different হয়? How is it different from the regular census? So regular census কি হয়? It provides the data of entire population. তাতে regular census কিবা caste data থাকে নেকি? থাকে। SC আৰু ST থাকে। কিন্তু sorry, OBC data nathake, ba EBC ba OBC data tat nathake. So that is how it is different from census. Apnalok hudibo pare je how is caste census different from the decennial census that is conducted. So first thing is that it doesn't have the caste data of SC and ST, sorry, OBC in the decennial census, although there is a caste data pertaining to SC and ST, সেইটো থাকে আৰু সেকেন্ড কথা হৈছে কি the census data is এইটো প্ৰথম কথা census data is confidential data confidential মানে and there is a census act এটা census act আছে census act 1948 তাৰ আন্ডাৰত every personal information that you give is secured. The government cannot disclose those information. But in caste census, there is no such restrictions. Caste census jodi hoy, tetiahole government is free to use those informations, those personal information for giving certain benefits to people. So that is how, that is duta with how caste census is different from your decennial census. ঠিক আছে এতিয়া কথাটো হল কি যদি কাষ্ট সেন্সাস মানে বেনিফিশিয়াল হয় গভর্নমেন্টে কিয় মানে হেৰি কৰা নাই why has government not conducted a caste census after independence or for that matter 31 or পিছতে কিয় বন্ধ হৈ গল so government actually the government policy or government what is the government's main you can say stand government stand has been that caste census যদি আমি conduct কৰো it will increase this way আমি যদি caste census conduct কৰো this is the argument of the government it will increase caste consciousness বাঢ়ি যাব and that way our national unity will be affected this is the argument you have to put politics you should not go delve into politics although it is highly politicized issue actually there is politics behind it political calculations behind it but this is something which has been the stand across party lines post independence there has been no caste census at national level although Karnataka 2011 Karnataka conducted a caste census but they did not publish the data now there is pressure on Karnataka to publish the data because there was a speculation that Lingayats and Lingayat another group ase siman mane numerical strength to hoy boli bhabisil assume kora hoisil there are certain reports that they are not that strong population wise so power wise to they are quite strong the Lingayats and Lingayat and I forgot the other group mention it in the comment if you know so that is the reason why no caste census has been conducted number one is that the main reason is that it will increase caste censusness and consciousness and can in fact be detrimental to promoting national unity however the fact is that socio-political dynamics has changed we need accurate information so there has been a call for caste census okay so that is the you can say purpose or argument behind why caste census is required but at the same time that is all there the argument against the strongest argument is that it can give rise to you can say forces that can be detrimental to national unity okay so I have actually told you certain facts regarding all this caste related bostu bilakot what are we trying to achieve why are we going for a reservation policy or why are we going for caste-based census the whole idea is the idea of social justice so when we say the idea of social justice what does it mean it means that it is an acknowledgement of the fact that there is certain inequalities in the society there is certain discrimination certain operations in society caste-based discrimination has been a historical reality since ancient times and that has existed so social justice means you acknowledge the fact that there is injustice in society and you take certain policies and here we are not only talking about reservation policies other policies for example right to education that is also a policy of social justice Okay, then another deprived group. The most deprived group is the women. So, say for example, the Women's Reservation Bill is a policy of social justice. So, the purpose is you acknowledge the social injustice, you take policies, and you achieve or you try to achieve a society which is just, a society which is fair, which gives equal treatment to all its members. Okay, so you tend to make everybody feel like they are part of uh, the social mind or social contract that you are creating in the society on. Okay, so that is the basic idea of social justice that should be the you can say the background behind the whole issue, because social justice is what we are trying to achieve through reservation. You might be asked, what are we trying to achieve through reservation? Obviously, although democratic principles will come, but at the core of it, justice. We are trying to achieve justice. There are multiple castes in India, thousands of castes. In fact, we had the first backward caste commission. We'll talk about those things. After independence, we have had a couple of backward caste commissions. Second one is more famous, Mandal Commission, and they have found thousands of caste and subcaste. So it is not easy to demarcate caste. Actually, it is not at all easy to define caste. Some caste group will be considered one type in one area and another type in another area. So how can you make them, or how can you segregate, or how can you delineate them? That is a big challenge. It's a big sociological project, understanding the caste, because caste work at multiple levels. Certain areas, even the dominant caste, although they are the OBCs, but the dominant caste are the OBCs more than the Brahmins. So this very complex equations happen in places in very different levels. So that is why it's a very complicated thing. Nobody wants to open the Pandora's box actually. And the government stand in this regard, Government of India stand is very clear. What has Government of India said in this matter? Government of India has actually stated in Lok Sabha in 2021 itself that it is as a policy, it doesn't want to enumerate caste-wise population other than SC and ST. So its argument is national unity. So again, that same argument that it will eventually promote caste consciousness. So as a matter of policy, Government of India is saying that it is not in favor of enumerating. On Narendra Modi, after the Bihar census, Narendra Modi clearly said that there is no plan to conduct a nationwide caste census. So that is you can say the idea behind it. Okay, now there was something called socio-economic caste census. What was it? It was conducted in the year 2011. Okay, so it was an attempt to again collect comprehensive data on the various socio-economic indicators, the uh, income level, deprivation level, what all amenities you have, access to public welfare, as well as caste information. But the government did is that government published the socioeconomic data, but it did not publish the caste data, citing it cited certain anomalies in the data, but real reason is political, obviously. But so that is an incomplete data set that actually is in use. SECC data has been used in making public policy, like I mentioned you shortly, so it's a short while ago, that in implementation of this Ayushman Bharat scheme, SECC data is used. Sorry, and then PMAY, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana also uses SECC data. So all these things are actually the utility of it is quite evident. But again, the data is incomplete. So SECC is something that is on hold. It has not been. There was an expert group constituted, but its recommendation is still pending. Then what is this Rohini Commission that was in news? So In 2017, this commission was constituted to dwell upon the idea of subcategorization of OBCs, because as you might be aware, uh, there is a strong belief, or there is this argument that the reservation for OBC has been cornered by certain dominant groups. So in order to ensure that the benefits of reservation flow to the right beneficiaries, it there was this proposal, or there was this commission constituted to look into this matter, the feasibility of subcategorizing OBC. But again, due to political repercussions that it might have, because many dominant OBC groups are actually politically active, like Marathas, Jats, not the Marathas, Jats, and yeah, Jats are one of them. Then Yadavs are quite dominant. So all certain because of the political cloud, it was government actually did not publish this data. So or the report was not published, but it might come out very soon, because it has been again in news in August, because Nitish Kumar has set in motion this caste census. So uh, you might see some activity on this regard. But you might be asked, what is Rohini Commission? Why was Rohini Commission in news recently? You have to say it is regarding the issue of subcategorization of OBCs to represent, or to give adequate representation to the unreserved or underrepresented subcaste of OBCs. It was constituted, and its report has been submitted very recently. Okay. Then certain data that I referred to earlier, I forgot. Actually, I should have given it at the very outset of the discussion, but no issues. So there is this data on monthly per capita expenditure. I doubt all these things will be asked directly, but you can make a passing reference. Okay, certain data like MPC data or National Family Health Survey data points out the fact that in both urban and rural areas, the you can say the households whose per capita spending is low is the households with or SC, or OBC households. The National Family Health Survey data says that there is this data you must know, 28% of Indians are known as multidimensionally poor. MPI, I hope you have read in mains. So multidimensional poverty estimate in India is 28%. And if you do a head count, then the majority will be the ST, SC, and OBCs. So regarding the deprivation statistics, for any population headcount you do in India, you will find that a vast majority are ST, SC, and OBC. In fact, again, it is a very raw data, but 84% of countries poor are actually ST, SC, and OBC. So it actually creates the backdrop for the need of a caste census. We need to actually know what is the socioeconomic indicators of various groups, so that we can direct our policies better, or so that we can evaluate the existing policy. If it is not working, then we should stop it. Because even after decades of having reservations, if it is not actually bringing changes in the ground, then what is the purpose? We should maybe devise some better policies. But just continuing it for the sake of continuing without actually proper evaluation of the policy is something that is not ideal. That is not how it should be. You should audit your policies properly in time, and it is high time we should audit our reservation policy. Has it actually succeeded in bringing any practical changes in the ground? So all those things can only be possible if you have proper data, and proper data will only come if you have a caste-based census. So that is an argument. So if you are asked a question in interview that do you agree with a caste-based census, then I feel, and that is actually the fact, like, keeping the politics aside, you should say that yeah, that is a reality, that is a necessity. So if you, again, for your better understanding, This reservation, Bihar has been the focal point since like early post-independence India, like say 1960s. Um, Ram Manohar Lohia, RML, you might have heard. Ram Manohar Lohia was the first person who actually mm, raised the issue of reservation after independence. Before independence, also there was this drive, but it was like more driven by what happened in Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. But post independence, it was more driven by what happened in Bihar. So there was this social justice movement in Bihar, and the culmination was the empowerment of Lalu Yadav, and in UP, the empowerment of Mayawati. The empowerment means the chief ministership of Mayawati and Lalu Yadav was, you can say, the outcome of the Bihar social movement, where political power actually went to the subaltern or the lowest of classes. So it is in fact a success. The fact that it resulted into giving, now India has a OBC prime minister, India has a ST president, and for that you have to give credit to the events of that time that stimulated this country or mobilized the country in a manner that you could not ignore them. You could not think of putting that strata of society outside your public policy thinking. So that actually brought them to the center stage. But was it the, you can say, end game for them? Or what? Gaining political empowerment was supposed to be actually a, you can say, the catapult. It was supposed to be the trigger for greater economic empowerment, for wider economic opportunities, for improving the lives of the people. But actually, you don't see industries or you don't see economic opportunities in Hindi heartland where the caste politics has been quite strong. So, although they had political empowerment, what we did not see is the real economic empowerment, real opportunities for them. So, in that way, we can say that the caste-based mobilization or caste-based political empowerment, although gave power to them, but it did not evolve to the desired end or desired political or desired empowerment that was supposed to be the end goal of that movement. So right now, that is why it is important, it is useful, and it is necessary to have the caste census. So it is, as a famous Victor Hugo line, you might know, some of you might know that you cannot stop a idea whose time has come. So caste census is something like that. It's time has come. We need it to evaluate the reservation policy. We need to evaluate why, in spite of having given political power, real empowerment has not been uh, percolated to the bottom, or why it has been cornered by certain sections. So for that, we need strong hard data. We have to actually look into the mirror and have the courage to see the loopholes of the policy. So that is how you can project yourself in the interview in this man on this issue. Now let us delve into a little bit of background of the issue, which is again quite relevant in this regard. So because to understand this policy better, we need to understand the fact that caste-based discrimination has been a part of Indian history. Caste-based exploitation has been a part of Indian history. পৰা হৈ আহিছে ancient times medieval times তেতিয়াতো ডেমক্ৰেচি নাছিল ন, ইট ৱাজ এ আনডেমক্ৰেটিক মানে মডেল অফ গভৰ্নেন্স, ডেছপটিক বা কি ক'ব অটক্ৰেচি মনাৰ্কি এনেকুৱা টাইপ আছিল। চ' তাৰ মানে কি আছিল, সেইটো সময়ত যিমান বেনিফিট আছিল, অল দ্য বেনিফিটছ ৱে কৰ্নাৰ্ড বাই দ্য আপাৰ কাষ্ট, হয় নাই? So they were the, you can say, the beneficiaries of all the rights or all the special privileges because of their মানে preordained by birth. এইটোতো accepted reality হয় ইণ্ডিয়াত। So তাৰ মানে সেই সময়তো you do not see any caste consciousness। কাষ্টৰ বিষয়ে যে মই এইটো কাষ্টৰ হয় সেইবিলাক একো নাছিল। কোনোবা preordained, he is born in lower caste, মানে that is it, there is no possibility of social mobility or there are no possibility, they accepted it। Actually ইণ্ডিয়াত কি হয়, there is this idea of graded exploitation। sociology বা anthropology to etu idea study kore exploitation মানে কি hoy why caste system sustains in India. It sustains in India because there is actually the exploited is an exploiter to other. Mane, if this person is exploiting this person, then this person is exploiting somebody. Then this person is doing somebody. So there is a chain of exploitation going on. So it is not like clearly mane Karl Marx or nichina clear cut mane haves and have nots hoi thaka nai. Mane বুজি পাইছে চাগে যে ডিসক্রিমিনেটেড যিজন হয় তেওঁ কাবাক আকৌ ডিসক্রিমিনেট কৰি থাকে সো ইন এ ৱে ডাইলুট হৈ যায় ন আপোনাক যদি কোনোবাই খং কৰে আপুনি কাবাক খং কৰি দিলে আপোনাৰ খং আপোনাৰ অৰিজিনেলি যেটো কোনোবাই খং কৰাটোৰ প্ৰতি হেইটো নাই কমি যায় ন ইয়াতো সেই সিস্টেমটো একে এই প্ৰিন্সিপলটা চলে আৰু আপুনি এটা ভাবিব পাৰে একদম লাষ্টৰটোৱে কাক কৰে একদম যেটো মহাদলিত হক বা মানে একদম মানে লোয়েষ্ট এটা জোন আছে কিউ কৰে এক্সপ্লইট কাক কৰে জানে নাই he exploits his woman in his house. The woman. And why does the woman accept it? That is the social norm in India. Our society kon kenekwa je maiki manuhe nijor exploitation to accept korile. Kyo accept korile setu tar dharma boli koy. That is her dharma. Je sojjo kori dibo lagibo. That is how that is your dharma as a woman. So you have to sustain the family, you have to accept those things. That is how you gain acceptance in your society, in your family, and that is how you can assure that you will get something in the better next birth. That is the basic idea. So why women accept exploitation in India? Because women accepts believe that it is because of their socially ordained position that they have to face those things. So that is how the chain of exploitation continues, graded exploitation hoi thake, and these things has been sustaining for such a long time. So this is a very good sociological argument in that etu kane the clear cut division nai exploiter is exploited ekata manhu exploiter hoy but exploited hai na. That is why these things are never ends. So ancient or medieval, there was no caste consciousness. Medieval too, in fact, we saw what was the main defining theme of medieval India. Islam came to India in medieval times. Our Islam or that came important slogan to give equality. Right? Equality slogan of Islam ahisile. But what happened? Caste system even engulfed Islam. Islam to caste system ahi gol. It is a মাজতে এটো নিউজত আছিলে ashrafs তাতো যেটো the idea of ashrafs and যিখিনি হিহঁতৰ কমনাৰ্স বিলাকৰ ক্ষেত্ৰতো এটা হেৰি আছে মানে যিখিনি কনভাৰ্ট হৈছিলে হিন্দুৰ পৰা বা বাকি আমাৰ ইয়াৰ এনসিয়েন্ট ৰিলিজন বিলাকৰ কনভাৰ্ট হৈছে সিহঁতি নিজৰ কাষ্টও লৈ গৈছে মানে they were not accepted in equal terms. So caste based discrimination happened in Islam also. So basically discrimination has been a part of Indian society regardless of your religion. Christianity to us, Indian Christians too, there is these things going on. I love and Ashraf and Islam. ঠিক আছে so কি হল তাৰ পিছত কিন্তু modern times কি হল when the British came to India certain factors again it was not a intentional way but কিছুমান you can say unintentionally certain factors came into motion and it gave birth to caste consciousness. British ohar karone caste consciousness to develop hol manuhor. Why? Ko paribo na? Can you think about it? Good example is the modern transport system when the railways were introduced. Caste system kenake sustain hobo pare jetia because you are confining a section of population to a particular area and to a particular profession. But when there is transportation, modern transportation system, the mobility comes. You can actually change your profession. So transportation system, education system again that created that change, or you can say that created impetus on change of profession and possibility of social mobility. তাৰপিছত the idea of private property, land, বিশেষকৈ লেণ্ডৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত আমি পাৰ্মানেণ্ট সেটেলমেন্ট পঢ়িছো হয় না, পাৰ্মানেণ্ট সেটেলমেন্টৰ মেইন থিমটো কি, যেটো হেৰিয়ৰ সময়ত আহিছিলে, ব্ৰিটিছৰ সময়ত যে প্ৰথম যেটো পাৰ্মানেণ্ট সেটেলমেন্ট আহিছিলে, পাৰ্মানেণ্ট সেটেলমেন্টত 1890s what was the defining theme? It was for the first time that land was treated as a sellable property. Land যে মাটি যে বেচিব পাৰি সেই কনসেপ্টটো ব্ৰিটিছৰ আগত নাছিলে, ব্ৰিটিছ আহাৰ আগতে। So once that comes into existence, then সেই land based যেটো feudal systemত যেটো আগৰ হেতু চলিছিল এক্সপ্লইটেশনটো, হেতু মিনিংলেছ হৈ গল ন। So এইবিলাকে তাৰপিছত আকৌ সেন্সাসৰ কথাটো কৈছোৱে, এই কিছুমান এনেকুৱা টাইপ ফেক্টৰছে কি কৰিলে মানুহক you became more, you can say, aware of your caste consciousness বহালে, because once you move to some another place, আপোনাৰ আগৰ সেই কমফৰ্ট জোন নাই আপুনি, you are moving to a new place, you are obviously caste is a reality, so you will be asked about your caste, তাৰপিছত change কৰাৰ কথাও ভাবিব, বা change মানে কি improve কৰাৰ কথাও ভাবিব। So all these things became a public discourse in India. তাৰপিছত states like Maharashtra, in fact if you have read history, Sahuji, grandson of Shivaji, he was the first person to demand caste-based reservation in the provincial assembly, Sahuji Maharaj. তাৰপিছত মাদ্ৰাজত কি হৈছিল, তামিলনাডুত আগতে মাদ্ৰাজ বুলি কৈছিল, জাষ্টিছ পাৰ্টি আপোনাৰ হেৰি তামিলনাডুত যেটো আছে জাষ্টিছ পাৰ্টি, so তাতে they demanded reservation for the depressed class বুলি কৈছিল হয় নাই। so তাৰপিছত আকৌ এইফালে হেৰিয়ত আম্বেদকাৰ আছিলে, আম্বেদকাৰে around 1920, ইনফেক্ট সাইমন কমিশনৰ আগত আম্বেদকাৰে ডিমান্ড কৰিছিলে reservation or separate electorate demand কৰিছিলে for the lower caste হয় না। so আগতে আপোনালোকে এইটো হিষ্ট্ৰীত মডাৰ্ণ ইণ্ডিয়া পঢ়িলে পাইছে ডিপ্ৰেছ ক্লাছ বুলি কয়। তাৰপিছত যেতিয়া গান্ধীয়ে সেই ডিপ্ৰেছ ক্লাছক কৈছিলে কি বুলি কৈছে, মহাত্মা গান্ধীয়ে হৰিজন বুলি কৈছিল। কিন্তু প্ৰথম এই যে এছচি বুলি কয় বা শিডিউল কাষ্ট বুলি কেতিয়াবা কোৱা হ'ল, when the first মানে after the Government of India Act 1935 পিছত the idea of scheduled caste, আৰু সেই সময়ত যে ইমান বিচাৰিছিলে ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যন, আপোনাৰ যেটো মই ক'লো যে সাহুজী মহাৰাজে বিচাৰিছিল, তাৰপিছত আকৌ হেৰিয়ে তামিলনাডুৰ কথাটো কৈছিলো, তাৰপৰা আম্বেদকাৰৰ কথাটো কৈছো, কিয় বিচাৰিছিল, why? Because প্ৰথম কথা ভোটিং ৰাইটছ সেই সময়ত লিমিটেড আছিল, কোনে ভোট দিব পাৰিছিল, হাৰ্ডলি 10% of Indians could vote in by 1935 elections, আৰু ভোটিংৰ কোৱালিফিকেশ্যন আছিল, ইউনিভাৰ্চেল এডাল্ট ফ্ৰেঞ্চাইজ নাছিল নহয়, property criteria আছিল। so সেই হিচাপতটো lower caste will never fulfill the criteria of মানে voting, either voting or standing in election। so হেতু কাৰণে to do justice he felt that separate electorate লাগিব, তেতিয়াহে হয়তো they might get a adequately, they might be given representation। so তাৰপিছতটো এইবিলাকতো জানে, ৰামছে মেকডোনাল্ড এৱাৰ্ড আহিলে 1936 আহিছিলে, 33 নে 36 আহিছিলে, 35 নে 36। তাৰপিছত পুনা পেক্ট হ'ল, ৰামছে মেকডোনাল্ড কি আছিল, বেসিক্যালি সেপাৰেট ইলেক্টৰেট ফৰ the scheduled caste, but Mahatma Gandhi fast unto death, Yerwada jail, তাৰপিছত পুনা পেক্ট হ'ল আম্বেদকাৰৰ লগত হয় নাই। so তাৰমানে কি এইবিলাক ডেভেলপমেন্ট যে আগতেই there was a demand for reservation, there was a demand for separate electorate। 35ত ultimately কি হ'ল, Government of India Act 35ত separate electorate নহ'ল, SC কাৰণে based on পুনা পেক্ট reserved seat আহি গ'ল, seat এতিয়া যেটো আমাৰ চলি আছে, so we have reserved seats for SC ST। so হেতু আইডিয়া 1935তে প্ৰথম আহিলে SC ST কাৰণে। so it shows that even before the enforcement of the constitution, the reservation policy of India was well developed. It's not something, it was not a new policy that came after independence, it was something that even evolved during the pre-independence time। Constituent Assembly একদম fierce debate হৈছিল, আপোনালোকে জানে না গান্ধী নেহৰুৰ position, they actually did not want reservation, neither Mahatma Gandhi nor Jawaharlal Nehru, they didn't favor reservation। in fact Congress, or it was actually it felt that মানে class upliftment কথা কৈছিল, but it always treated the Dalit problem as a social problem। আপোনালোকে when was INC formed? INC was formed in the year 1885, but যেটো এটা নেশ্যনেল socialist conference বুলি আছিল, মহাদেৱ গোবিন্দ ৰানাডে আৰু ৰঘুনাথ ৰাওৱে, প্ৰিলিমছত এইবিলাক পঢ়িছে চাগে, NSC যেতিয়া ফৰ্ম হৈছিল, এইটো ফৰ্ম হৈছিল 1887 কিয় ফৰ্ম হৈছিল? কংগ্ৰেছ wanted to separate the social issues from the political issues. কংগ্ৰেছে social আৰু political issues বিলাক কম্বাইন কৰিব বিচৰা নাছিল হা। সো নেহেৰু সেইখিনি মানে thinking মানে he was actually more bookish আৰু modern আছিলে বোধক, but he felt that কি economic development হ'ব. He was fascinated by Soviet model economic planning. So he felt that once that economic structure comes to India, it will bring in growth, it will percolate growth to the bottom, and that is how the caste system will be broken. But he failed to understand the evil grip of the caste system. Actually economic system toke caste system loi lole. Ultimately ki hol, jibilak manue olop green revolution ebilakot olopan benefit paisilu, hetu again that became a caste group. It was second democratic মানে হেৰি হৈ যায় মানে মেইনছৰ টাইপ হৈ যায় ডিসকাশনটো, যেটো মানে পোস্ট গ্ৰীণ ৰিভলিউশনত যিবিলাক পলিটিকেল মুভমেন্ট ৰাইজ হ'ল, it was because of the economic empowerment যেটো গ্ৰীণ ৰিভলিউশনৰ কাৰণে আহিছিল। the dominant caste যিবিলাক the idea of মানে OBC যেটো rise of OBC because of green revolution হৈছিল মানে। so economic developmentৰ কাৰণে caste system solidify হৈ গ'ল in a way. so again that is you can say a complex argument, but if you understand then it is good. The basic idea is that Nehru, Gandhi, they did not favor having caste-based reservation, but Ambedkar, he believed that political justice can, or there is a need for political justice, there is a need for economic justice for the development, and the only pathway is through social justice of reservation. And what was the মানে area হেতু জানিব লাগে বেসিক কথা, যে কোট হব এটা তো লেজিসলেচাৰত ৰিজাৰ্ভেশন থাকিব আৰু এটা গভৰ্নমেন্ট জবত থাকিব। লেজিসলেচাৰত there will be a sunset clause, মনত ৰাখিব আছে, এতিয়াও হেতু কথা আছে যে ৰিজাৰ্ভেশন ইজ নট এ ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্ট, সব প্ৰত্যেক বছৰে এক্সটেন্ড কৰি থাকে বন নেক্সট 5 years or 10 years 15 years এনেকে। so there is a sunset clause কি এটা টাইমৰ পিছত শেষ হৈ যাব লাগে হা। sunset clause মানে it will end at a predefined endpoint, but that again keeps on extending, they have been extending it continuously, but government jobs ক্ষেত্ৰত তেনেকুৱা কোনো sunset clause নাই। so reservation ক'ত আছে, কোনটো এৰিয়াত আছে, গভৰ্নমেন্ট জবছত আছে আৰু লেজিসলেচাৰত আছে। there is a constitution originally constitutional assembly was not talking about reservation for OBCs, it was only talking about reservation for SCs and STs, mind you. and second কথা হৈছে কি legislature থাকিব for there will be an end point আৰু গভৰ্নমেন্ট জবছত থাকিব no end point. so can you appreciate the situation? constitution হৈ গ'ল, independence পাতে, reservation idea accept হ'ল, but reservation only for SCs and ST. Into OBC reservation, why did it come? It came because of whatever economic empowerment that happened after green revolution, or for that matter যদিও whatever মানে economic model নেহৰুৱে যেটো আনিছিল, নেহৰু মেহলনবিছ model, that was actually that turned out to be a failure 1991 or সময়লৈকে যদি আমি চাওঁ, but still whatever economic benefit it created, it was cornered by those dominant caste among OBCs, and that gave a fillip to their rise in political status, that gave it to the rise of the Yadavs, rise of Jats, Jat politics rise of এইটো আমাৰ এজন ফেমাস হেৰি আছে পলিটিক্যাল স্কলাৰ আছে ইণ্ডিয়াৰ হেৰি Rajni Kothari talks it as the democratic upsurge, first democratic upsurge বুলি কৈছিল গ্ৰীণ ৰেভলিউচনৰ সময়ত। তাৰপিছত আকৌ second democratic upsurge কৈছিলে হেৰিয়ত when PSP came to power. so যেতিয়া মানে একদম SC গভৰ্নমেন্ট মানে schedule caste গভৰ্নমেন্ট ফৰ্ম কৰিলে মানে led by Mayawati. so that is what the idea was ki reservation যদি আহে গভৰ্নমেন্ট জবছত থাকিব for SC ST, and that to adequate representation of কথা কৈছিল, proportionate কথা কোৱা নাছিল যে SC এই সময় ধৰক 15% মানে 15% মানুহ বা 10% whatever সিমানটোৱে সব জবত ৰিজাৰ্ভেশন থাকিব, এইটো নহয়, adequately থাকিব লাগিব যাতে মানে sufficient মানুহৰ upliftment হয় বা মানুহখিনিয়ে opportunity পায়, কাৰণ they also understood the limitation of a reservation policy. Essentially apuni empowerment karone apuni social capital ba social infrastructure improve koribo lagbo, health, education, housing, baki basic sanitation ebilak jodi ami improve nokoru tetia hole okol jobs ba legislature reservation di ami manu kiman upore utham, it will be again cornered by certain few people. so hebilak focus koribo lagbo. so there is a basic idea. now government তেনেকে মানে ওবিসি ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যনৰ কথা তেতিয়ালৈকে অহা নাই তাৰপিছত ফাৰ্ষ্ট যেতিয়া হেৰি হ'ল বেকৱাৰ্ড কাষ্ট কমিশ্যন হ'ল কাকা কেলকাৰ কমিটি বুলি এইটো ৰিজাৰ্ভ মানে কাকা খালেকাৰ কমিটি বুলি 1953 52 এনেকুৱা হৈছিলে so 53 I think they identify OBCs it recommended that caste census হ'ব লাগে but nothing came out but lahe lahe caste consciousness bahile OBCs started demanding so by the time 77 ত যেতিয়ালে মানে আপোনাৰ এইবিলাক আহি গ'ল আমাৰ জনতা পাৰ্টি আহি গ'ল Mandal Commission form hol by 1980 and it clearly demarcated মানে it identified OBCs criteria কিছুমান দিলে backward caste কোন হ'ব লাগে economic criteria ৰাখিলে caste based caste was a criteria but not the only criteria বাকি criteria আছে বাকি deprivation criteria economic criteria empowerment or criteria so এইবিলাক ৰাখি পেলাই মানে they tried to create a you can say that database in database original database 1931 ৰে use কৰি আছিল তেওঁলোকে but still they created a data set to highlight the fact that 52% are OBC so you need more you can say they started demanding more opportunities or more reservations for it so এইটো ক্ষেত্ৰত মানে যেটো 52 কি 27% ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যনৰ কথা আহি গ'ল আৰু এইটো সলিডিফাই কৰি দিলে ইন্দিৰা সাহানি যেটো জাজমেন্ট এটো ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট হয় ইন্দিৰা সাহানি জাজমেন্টে যে yes reservation is okay based on Mandal Commission but ito ceiling is 50% cap to up যাব নোৱাৰে under any case it has a 10% EWS আছে that is 50% plus এটো কাৰণ 10% এটো EWS ৰ কথাটো এনেকুৱা নহয় যে এটো নাহে কাৰণ এটো এটা গ্ৰুপ বেস ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যন 52 কিন্তু এটো they are talking that এটো আমাৰ article 46 of flow হৈছে বুলি কৈছে গভৰ্ণমেন্টে it flows from article 46 where economic theory কথা আছে so there is something called horizontal মানে you can say reservation horizontal reservation যেটো হয় এটা আমি vertical reservation এটা গ্ৰুপক আমি এটা জায়গাতে ৰাখিব পাৰো কিন্তু যেতিয়া আমি বস্তুটো horizontal reservation বা horizontal হেৰিত কেনেকুৱা হৈছে the omen of ক্ষেত্ৰত দিছো আমি SC omen থাকিব পাৰে OBC omen থাকিব পাৰে ST omen থাকিব পাৰে so সেইবিলাক ক্ষেত্ৰত 50% cap to lift হ'ব পাৰে কিন্তু actually আপুনি যদি চাই EWS তো এতিয়া তাত EWS ত ST SC OBC নাই so EWS is there only for the you can say unreserved category economically weak section of Hane. So in a way it is it doesn't fulfill the criteria set by Indira Sahani but still it is considered the present position is that 10% is over and above the 50% yet included nohoy mane in a way 60% jot reserved ase ইয়াতে কিছুমান কেছত সুপ্ৰিম কোৰ্টে কৈছে যে কেতিয়াবা 50% ক্যাপ টো এক্সিড কৰিব পাৰে ইনফ্যাক্ট তামিলনাডুত 69% ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যন আছে ওবিসি কাৰণে তামিলনাডুত আপাৰ কাষ্টৰ টোটাল প্ৰপোৰ্শন অফ দা পপুলেশন ইজ হাৰ্ডলি 3% so that is why SB Joshi বুলি কেছ এটাত মানে 97% are backward so they are it said that 69% is okay in case of Tamil Nadu so etu eta again quantifiable data লাগিব আৰু মানে properly বস্তুটো depict হ'ব লাগিব যে yes there is ground to there is proper evidence to show that yes we need more এটা তো নীতিশ কুমাৰে যেটো কৈ আছে যে 65% কিয় বেছিস কি বেছিস কৈছে যে 85% total backward আছে হেতু হিচাপত কৈছে keeping aside the argument কি হ'ব লাগে বা না লাগে but so D reservation লাগে to it has to be based on certain facts হেতুৱে কথাটো so again আৰু এটা কথা মনত ৰাখিব লাগে ইয়াতে আপোনালোকে 50% cap ইন্দিৰা সাহানি আনিলে মণ্ডল কমিশনত ওবিসি ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যনৰ কথা আহিলে থাৰ্ড কথাটো জানিব লাগে যেটো ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যন এণ্ড প্ৰমোশন so তাতে এটা ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট কেছ আছে এম নাগৰাজ বুলি তাতে এটো কথা কৈছে যে ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যন এণ্ড প্ৰমোশন অনলি ফৰ ST SC ইয়াতে কোনো ওবিসি কথা নাই ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যন প্ৰমোশনৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত ST SC কাৰণে হ'ব বাট তাতো এটা কাইন্ড অফ ক্ৰিমিলিয়াৰ কনসেপ্ট এটা আনিছে ST SC ক্ষেত্ৰত মানে কিছুমান ডাটা গভৰ্ণমেন্টে দিব লাগিব যে একচুয়ালি ইনএডিকুৱেট ৰিপ্ৰেজেন্টেশন হৈছে নেকি আপাৰ সেকশনৰ যে প্ৰমোশন দিব লাগে আছে বা গভৰ্ণমেন্টৰ এফিচিয়েন্সি এফেক্ট হ'ব নেকি এইবিলাকৰ ডাটা দিলেহে একচুয়ালি SC SC প্ৰমোশনত ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যন দিব, নহ'লে নোৱাৰে। চ' সেনেকুৱা এটা আইডিয়া আহিছে। আৰু ইণ্ডিয়া চাৰ্ভেটো এইটো কথা কৈছে যে প্ৰমোশ্যনত ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যন হ'বই নালাগে, বিকজ 16+4ত অকল ইনিচিয়েল এপইণ্টমেণ্টতহে ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যনৰ কথা কৈছিলে। তাততো মানে 50% কেপটোৰ কথা কৈছিল আৰু এইটো কথা কৈছিল। এইবিলাক ইমান ডিটেইলছত এনেকুৱা নুশুনে, আপোনাৰ বেছিক ৰিজাৰ্ভেশ্যন পলিচিটো ইণ্ডিয়াৰ কোনফালে ইভল্ভ হৈছে এইটো কথা জানিব লাগে। কিন্তু আপোনাক যদি মানে ইফ ইউ মানে you are asked point blank ki why is it such a controversial issue, or why don't we find a proper middle ground to meet the desired objective in which the whole policy was created. So এইটোত আমি আম্বেদকাৰৰ কথাটোৱে ৰেফাৰ কৰিব পাৰো যে আমি মানে উইকাৰ সেকশনক যদি আমি এডিকুৱেট ৰিপ্ৰেজেন্টেশন নিদিও, আমি যদি what আম্বেদকাৰ argued that if এখন সমাজত যদি যিখিনি পিছপৰা সেকশন আছে তেওঁলোকক যদি এডিকুৱেট ৰিপ্ৰেজেন্টেশন নিদিও, তেনেহ'লে সেই সমাজৰ সেই সেকশনটোৰ কাৰণে ডেভেলপমেন্ট ষ্টপছ। ওকে, চ' সেই সেকশনটো যাতে প্ৰগ্ৰেছ কৰি থাকিব পাৰে সেইটো কাৰণে it is required. It is no doubt is a policy of reverse discrimination, and India is not the only country with such a policy. In fact, if you see countries like USA, Brazil, Israel, South Africa, they also have certain policies which are intended to benefit those weaker sections so that they do not stay behind. I mean, we need that is again corroborates the fact that why we need a caste census, because we have to know who are actually backward. So why it is such a burning issue, or why there is so much of polarization, is because ডেভেলপমেন্ট এসপেক্টটো ফোকাসটো লেস হয়, যে আমি যে এটু থ্ৰু দি সোশিও ইকোনমিক ইম্প্ৰুভমেন্টৰ কথা ভাবো, এম্পাৱাৰমেন্টৰ কথা ভাবো, সেইটো কম হয় আৰু পলিটিসাইজেশন বেছি হয়। যে আমাৰ ইয়াত কি হয়, আমাৰ ইয়াত আছে ডেমক্ৰেসি, ডেমক্ৰেসি ইজ এবাউট নাম্বাৰস, আৰু নাম্বাৰস ক'ৰ পৰা আহে? মোবিলাইজেশন। আপুনি কিমান মানুহ মোবিলাইজ কৰিব পাৰিছে, আৰু মোবিলাইজ কৰিব পাৰিব কেতিয়া? আপুনি 100টা মানুহ আছে, সবে 100টা বেলেগ বেলেগ আইডিয়া লৈ ৰাখিলেতো আপুনি মোবিলাইজ কৰিব নোৱাৰে মানুহ, সবটো 100টা বেলেগ আইডিয়াৰ মানুহ হৈ যাব। কিন্তু যদি if you can make them come together under certain caste brackets, then that is easy for you to do politics. That is why parties go for easy caste based mobilization. So our political system, to multi-party political system, to caste identity যদি solidify হয়, then that becomes easier for certain political parties or certain political agendas to flourish, because they are more based on caste based mobilization. So এই politicization to হেতু কাৰণে বেছি হয়। কিন্তু আমাক কিয় লাগে আমি বেলেগ বেলেগ কৰিলে? Because we have to accept the fact that certain sections are not মানে developing. What is the actually way forward? Because মণ্ডল কমিশনতে কৈছিল যে 3000-4000 কাষ্ট আছে। So actually 3000-4000 ডিমাৰ্কেট কৰিব দিগদাৰ হ'ব। আমি যদি কিছুমান ব্ৰড কেটেগৰী কৰি দিওঁ, 5টা 6টা 7টা 8টা একচুয়ালি ডিসাইড কৰিব পৰা কেটেগৰী কৰি পেলাই যদি আমি এটা সেগ্ৰিগেশন কৰো স্টেট ওয়াইজ বা ৰিজন ওয়াইজ, তেতিয়া হয়তো আমি বেটাৰ, দ্যাট ক্যান বি এ বেটাৰ ওয়ে। নহলে 3000-4000 সাব গ্ৰুপস ক্ৰিয়েট কৰি পেলাই আপুনি পলিসি কেনেকে বেলেগ বেলেগকে বনাব? You have to create manageable groups among them, so that benefits intended for the right people reach the right people. So hetu khetrot Rohini commissioner recommendation to let us see what it comes out, and we no doubt we need subcategorization of OBCs so that the real beneficiaries get the benefit. So with that, I'll conclude this lecture. I hope it has brought more light to your understanding. Okay, so if you have anything to add or any query regarding it, then you can reach me. Thank you.